1055 with your host, Richard Rose.
Hey, good morning. I'm Richard Rose. Welcome to Exit 1055 Long Island. It's your TV 1055 show about all things Long Island. With Governor Cuomo's pledge to build more wind farms off the south shore of Long Island and the Rockaways, stretching down perhaps as far as the Jersey coast. And it's all being modeled after the very first offshore wind farm in the U.S., now up and running. Not far from Long Island's East End in Montauk. TV 1055's Tarika Duncan gives you a sneak peek from just off the coast of Rhode Island at what many believe is the future of clean energy for Long Island.
It's awesome, isn't it?
While countries like Denmark have been using offshore wind farms since the early 90s, U.S.-based projects have been stalled due to court fights over environmental fears and protests over the turbines blocking beachfront views.
It took a long time to get here.
How long?
It took us 8 years to build this project.
Other projects are in the works, potentially bringing 200 more wind turbines to the area within the next 10 years. Steve Draper expects people will get used to the new scenery.
We all got used to telephone poles and telephone wires in our view shed, and they're not beautiful.
A view of the future, powering the future.
And to talk about it all, joining us now is Neal Lewis. He's the executive director of the Sustainable Institute at Molloy College, a Sustainability Institute.
That's right. Thank you.
Welcome to the show. Before we talk about where New York and Long Island will take this, we actually have had some news. A deal that's been reached between LIPA and the company that did this Block Island one, right? Explain where that's at.
That's right. So the 5 that you just saw at Block Island, they want to put another 15 right next to them, which would be about 30 miles from Montauk. So it would have no view impact on Long Island, and the LIPA Board of Trustees is set on Wednesday of this week to approve this contract. Where we understand.
And is that expected that there'll be an approval of the governor's clearly behind it?
I think it'll be unanimous. There's a lot of excitement for this. This is particularly going to help the South Fork of Long Island, where there is what they call a load pocket, where there's not enough electricity for the demand. So it's a really good fit, this particular project. Of course, there's proposals for more projects. With any renewable energy, there's intermittency. So solar, when the sun goes down, you don't get energy. When the wind stops blowing, you don't get energy. That intermittency for offshore wind, however, is much lower than it is for other technologies.
Well, let's talk about what the governor is planning here, because he's been touting it in his speeches, and you provided us a map that shows the impact area for these 15 wind turbines that appear to be on a fast track to being approved by the LIPA board.
That's right.
And that we'll see in the coming years. Now, where would it be placed in?
So
how much power would it produce?
So the images off to the east of Long Island are the ones that are set to be approved by the LIPA board on Wednesday, which is very exciting. You also see this triangular shape that's sort of off of the Rockaways.
More to the west, the Rockaways.
Much more to the west of that area.
So like a wedge shape.
Yeah, and the wedge shape is because you have shipping lanes going in and out of New York City, so they're putting it in between the lanes.
Now, that's not far from Jones Beach. I recall years ago a project got shot down because people didn't like the way it was going to look in the water. How is this different?
Well, on that map, you also saw a greenish line that represents 12 miles. So we're not talking about any turbines that will be any closer than 12 miles, and many will be further than that.
Will you be able to see them from shore?
Basically, you will not. Certainly, the project that's going to be approved for Block Island is 30 miles, and the governor joked that even Superman's eyes wouldn't be able to see it. But the ones that are going to be 12 miles, you'd have to have really powerful stuff to just see specks of them. So for the most part, the visual impact concerns that were raised by that earlier project that were only 3 miles out, that's completely eliminated.
Okay, so a lesson was learned from that. And so how do we get to by what year, 2030?
By 2030.
How do we get to 50% being solar and wind?
Right. All of the 50% renewable wind and solar, the governor put on the table a goal by the end of next year. Maybe you have me back in a year. By the end of this year, he wants a master plan to achieve 2,400 megawatts of energy. So that would be 400 turbines as compared to the 15 that we're talking about getting approved on Wednesday.
But these things are big and take time.
No, the project going to be approved on Wednesday was actually the least expensive option. compared to fossil fuel. Again, there was some specifics.
But there will be this hike. But let me ask you one last thing. There's significant maritime opposition saying that you're
commercial fishing.
Yeah,
the commercial
fishing
industry.
Cutting into fishing lanes are going to harm their population, or maybe even lead to navigational
extensive efforts to reach out and try and work with the commercial fishing industry, but there's still very much opposed to offshore wind. It's amazing how much political clout they have. They've brought lawsuits.
Well, a lot of people have jobs and make money from it, so you're going to run into
but none of this is going to block them. You can still drag your nets right around the wind turbines. It has no negative impact on fishing, no negative impact on
the
marine.
debate begins. Now
Doesn't even have a negative impact on the birds, which is a misstated misnomer that's out there. There's radar data that shows birds can fly right in between these turbines. You know, I just want to say there's going to be this hearing on Wednesday and this approval. Groups like Renewable Energy Long Island, Citizens Campaign for the Environment, Sierra Club, Natural Resources Defense Council. This has been a real groundswell.
And so you have the stage for now, and we'll see how this moves forward. It's been laid out by Neal.
Very exciting times.
Executive Director at the Sustainability Institute at Molloy College. Sorry, I had to get a little bit more breath for that. And thank you very much for coming in and talking to us about
Great
this.
stuff.